This is willpower.
All right, all right, all right. I am here at Double Trouble on the other end with Mike and Alyssa from Zen Mat here on the Willpower Podcast. Thank you guys for squeezing me in and spending some time with me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, we're super excited for this.
Yeah, there's so much to speak about, and we're going to dive into the mat and how much I love it and how much it really helped me with anxiety and a lot of the mental and physical challenges I've had over the last couple of years. And mostly I want to lean in and ask you guys a little bit of a deeper dive, soulful question to start, which is really, what is the hardest thing that you have ever been through? And you're welcome to answer separately. That has informed your mission with Align.
I mean, a lot of our mission, we're definitely together. I mean, Alyssa and I have done this in many lifetimes, many times over, and it feels like a lot in this lifetime too. But I mean, like the hardest thing we had to do together was actually, we were building a bus together. We were building, so we were building it was called a wellness center on wheels. So, wow. It really was a wow. So during the pandemic, we actually bought like a coach bus. So when you think about like Greyhound bus that goes from like New York City to like Philadelphia or whatever, cross country, we bought one of those buses, and we thought it would be a good idea to turn it into that wellness center on wheels in a place that we could live. And
we lived in a gutted bus for 5 months on a blow up mattress, and we had an extension cord coming from a house. We were at least on 3.5 acres of beautiful land.
It was a rickety haunted house that like definitely like when the wind blew, it would like sway with the wind. So and like you would have to like plug in the plug and make sure that you didn't get shocked. It was crazy.
Orlando, Florida, mosquitoes the size of pterodactyls, and it was all the
like
things.
5 months in one day, and you were like, and we're out of here.
Oh, by the end of it, okay, I will tell you the end story, which was probably, this is the icing on the cake, as if like every day, like sweating and like the grind of actually like gutting the bus. Then we got to the electrical and we're like, that bites back. We need help with this. And the plumbing, we were just in way over our head with our skill set. And we had help in the beginning, but as the world started opening up with the pandemic, kind of winding down, that help went back to work. So we didn't know what we were doing and like the next steps, but we woke up in a torrential downpour and what we thought was outside the bus, but the bus, we found out very quickly, had leaks, and the air mattress was basically floating inside the bus.
So good thing we had an air mattress, because we actually noticed Alyssa woke me up saying, oh my gosh, we're floating.
We're floating. Wow.
We go back and forth. Yeah, that was, I would say that was like one of the most difficult times together. And I mean, like, I'm a mechanic, but I mean, like, when it comes to buses and building and everything, when you don't have any help, and we were just on raw land, with this one house that didn't have very many amenities. And I remember like taking showers outside or going to the gym and taking showers, because we were like, we're really going to do this. We're going to go raw. We're going to go hard. And we're going to, have this story to share. And
we're going to show people on social media what it really takes, not all the glamour of bus life, like how you get here. And
it was amazing in the beginning on TikTok and Instagram. Everybody loved what we were doing. They were tuning in, and then it got hard. And then they're like, oh, we don't
want to see that.
We don't want to see the hard parts. We don't want to see also, it makes you bond as well. I know a little bit about this, not because I rebuilt a bus, but I did for 7.5 months go on the road in a 19-foot Winnebago. And traveled all around the U.S. And so I got a little bit of a sense of that piece. And were you in the middle of the R&D phase? Were you like research and development on the mats at that point?
Yeah.
Oh
working, structuring, building. You're like, how are we doing this?
So we had a little refrigerator, and we had like the schematics and like blueprints and like our wish list and our manifesting list on
sourcing stones, like all the things that we had to do while we were there. Like the main office we had was like coffee shops at that time. So we were just really figuring out how to make it work. And it was our passion and love that I think that has really driven everything that we've been able to manifest. It's like, we talk about this and like, we've done really hard things together, but 2020 was like such a honeymoon phase for us, even though we were like in the trenches and doing the hard things. It was just like, it was so fun because we were just exploring life.
And
together.
I say it was difficult because it's just like taxing physically and mentally and
Oh, we have
emotionally.
videos
But
they can watch.
oh yeah, you can definitely watch our videos.
You can watch the videos until the hard things happen and everyone stops watching.
Oh yeah, it's still
Yeah.
it's online. You could actually go look this up. Like us just drenched in sweat, like lifting things, like him welding stuff. Yeah, you could see it all.
So amazing. It's like it's always nice to look back in some way where you can see the birth of all this like creativity and all the expansion that happens. And then like this is a fail faster principle too, right? There's times that you're just like, okay, well, let me put this part away. And Lord knows quarantine was, all over the place, kind of fandango. But I want also listeners to hear the thing that I like going to just speak very freely because I love you both and I've met you at several shows and feel very aligned with you, pun intended. But what I love is just the balance in your relationship, both business and the partnership. Of course, I'm not sitting around the dinner table with you, but I do kind of feel and get the sense of the energetics that is connected between you and that Mike really, this is such a great balance of like masculine and feminine energies in both of you. And then Mike really shows up in this like holding the container space. And Alyssa, you're like, you're there to be creative and flowing and like this all exists. And then I look at your resume and I'm like, it's so perfectly polarizing that Alyssa comes from like aerospace engineering and Mike's like medical intuitive. And it's like, it's so cool because it's like a beautiful blend of backgrounds in a way that like if we were like typifying it or something, it would be like, oh, well, maybe the roles would be reversed. Just, to be like the generalization of society. But I love that you both bring these specific skill sets to the table. And I just want to talk about a little bit about how your background, like what your backgrounds are and just how they really relate to what you get to bring to the table for Align because they're both so different.
Yeah, I want to thank you for highlighting that because
Yeah.
I feel like your first 5 minutes of our podcast are going to make me tear up. But like, really, honestly, like living in my masculine most of my life and being in this relationship has allowed me to soften into that feminine because he does hold a container so well. And it's really allowed me to tap into the fact that I've never really thought of myself as a creative. It's always been like A plus B equals C, this very black and white approach to like problem solving.
And that's not me at all. No.
So
You're like
he's-
A plus 1 equals infinity.
That makes so much sense to me. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I get that.
and helping me believe in that infinite and us together because when this relationship began and we elevated our frequency by falling in love, we started tangibly manifesting things into our reality. And I don't want to sound woo-woo, but like I never believed in that. And once that door was open and things showed up and we had them, it's like, you can't not be a believer. So how this has helped evolve with Align, Mike can share his story of like, I guess your pain to purpose or it kind of got downloaded into you and
I mean, yeah.
began our journey.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a medical intuitive and master healer, and I had this gift of medical intuition for my entire life, and I actually didn't realize I had it. So I was labeled as a hypochondriac from my parents and multiple people, doctors, right? Because there's no such thing as energy. Don't look outside yourself. It's not within you. So I would be, for example, walking through like a crowd of people, and I would take on all their imbalances. So I would like have a headache, my heart would hurt, I'd have a bum leg on the other side. And I was like, man, I'm like really beat up. What's going on? Something must be really wrong with me, and that was enforced because they were like, yeah, you're a hypochondriac. That's happened. Just walk it off, kid. And especially in that mentality, like we were talking before, like before we started, being a Navy brat, right? I'm a Navy brat. My dad was in the military, very high ranking. My mother was a captain in the military. So I had two military parents and I obviously chose this family, right? Because I needed these like trials and tribulations to like really actualize my power. So growing up with that, just thinking that I was, broken, and it was really difficult and like, always feeling like something was wrong. And then the diagnosis came in because, it was just like something that society likes to put on you, like the Western med likes to put on you. Oh, okay. So you're not paying attention in class. It's not because like you're bored or you're actually surfing different dimensions, not to try to get woo woo, but that's who I am. So, take it or leave it. But you have ADHD and you have dyslexia and you need to take medication for it. And, you know, time and time again, they would try to put me on medication and it just wouldn't work. I'm so sensitive that I would just like, I'm like, no, I can't take this. So I would just, I went to a school where they would like give me medication, right? In the little cup, makes you feel really singled out. And I would just put it in my pocket and I would have like these tons of pills in my room that like, you know, that I just wouldn't take.
Never took.
That I never took because it never felt right. But because society and, you know, everybody's saying that you have these imbalances and this is your label, that's what it felt like. But really fast forward, I mean, like into my early 20s, that's when I actually started actualizing my power. My mother actually for my 21st birthday gave me the book, The Law of Attraction. And I read that book cover to cover 9 times. And I loved it. And I put all the practices, everything into place. And I started seeing things happening. I was like, okay, this is different. This is actually really cool. And it's interesting that it came from my mother because she was so like, you know, hard in the 3D reality.
And maybe sense something in you, or, you know, it's like such a beautiful, or maybe that's just like the portal with which the book had to get into your hands, you know?
Right. Yeah. Or she's tapped in. She doesn't really like, you know about it. Right. So like I got this book, like I said, read it cover to cover 9 times. And then I actually reached out to the author on Facebook. And I was like, hey man, thank you so much for writing this book. You've changed my life. And I get a message back, hey, you're welcome. No problem. I get that a lot. I was like, wait, is this really the author of The Law of Attraction? It's like, yeah, it's me. And his name was Michael. So we bonded with that. And he was like, hey, would you like to be on my show? Hang out with Michael. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. So fast forward even more, I was on that show, an episode for like 50 episodes. And on the 50th episode, coincidentally enough, there was a medical intuitive that came on and he was just burning a hole through my head. The whole entire time. It's so uncomfortable. I was so much so I was starting to sweat. I had anxiety. It was crazy. So he's like, Mike, after this call, I need you to call me. We need to talk. So I was like, okay, dude, I'm not going to do that. That's like really, you know, that was intense energy. I thought I didn't know what I was feeling.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I gave him a call and he was like, dude, you have the juice. And that's what he said. You have the juice. You have the gift. And I'm a medical intuitive. I see it in you. You need to read these books. You need to take these certifications and you need to get on the path. And that phone call just changed my life completely. I did everything I could to learn everything about energy, everything about what I was going through, everything about how I could transmute this energy, like panic attacks. And like, I skipped a really important part and saved it for the end because I had severe anxiety and panic attacks because I was suppressing my gifts. I was suppressing my energy, all from when I was a child, when I was told I was a hypochondriac, when I was diagnosed with ADHD, when I was put on medication, and then again put on medication for severe anxiety, depression, panic, you name it. It all came up because this energy was just in my head, in my body, just wanting to get out. And it didn't have an outlet until that point. And I remember a couple certifications I did, I started working on myself and I actually did something called the emotion code.
I'm familiar with it.
It's an incredible modality. Dr. Bradley Nelson's amazing.
Been a practitioner for over 10 years.
Yeah, I've been a practitioner for a long time. And the first time that I actually did it, I removed my heart wall and it was in the midst of a panic attack. And all of a sudden, my panic was gone and it did not come back. Ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But to like tie this all in, this long story, and I apologize going a little bit longer, but I mean, like, these are some stories that aren't even really like talked about, right? So where do you start? Where do you end with this? Because there's so much that happened in the middle. But I mean, like, this gave me the ability to actually tune in and listen to what I needed to do, what we needed to do to create something to help somebody actualize their healing potential. Right? It's a tool that we created. So the first message I got from Source was like, you need to create a tool. And I was like, cool. that was it. There's no other subtext or anything. It's like, you're going to create a tool to help people. I was like, oh, wow. And then I was like, well, what does it look like? What color is it? And anything like that. And it like Source went silent. So I had to learn like these lessons and like come into all these other technologies. And a lot of times I was like, is this it? And I was like, no, that doesn't feel right. I was like, no, this is it. And then like, it just kept on like giving me breadcrumbs and everything like that. So, I mean, I declare to the universe, to God, to Source, whatever that we want. Alyssa's a manifester. And as long as we're on the same energy wave, right? The same energy level, right? We can manifest anything tangibly immediately. It's incredible. And that has everything to do with going back to, that love frequency. That love is the highest frequency. But then there's another frequency above love, and that's authenticity. So we authentically love each other, right? And love and authenticity is 4,000 times stronger than love, right? So when you have those together, that energy can create worlds. It can create anything. It can create products, anything you want. So I think that that's like a huge part of it.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing to unpack, just some of this story and also the things that you were going through, because I think other people out here, people maybe even listening right now, are feeling that call or feeling that like discomfort and not knowing how to expand beyond it, right? And it's like the tools in the world that we use around biohacking in general can be helpful, but really there's no, like, it's this know thyself thing, right? And it's this self-discovery and awareness and like unpacking pieces that quite often come from like tragedy, right? Or come from really challenging times in our life when we were like, I have no other option here but to get to know who I am or who I was or who I want to be. And the notion of like letting go of your past self to make room for your future self, I think is something that has shown up so much in my life. And just that's why this conversation we're even having it, and why it's good for you to tell a bit of the pieces of the story, because these are in many cases, right, they're the intangibles or the hyper specifics of humans on the planet. And each one of us is going to have a little bit of a different story. And also it's really easy to just like turn a blind eye and be like, well, I don't understand that, so it just can't be true.
Right.
And, I've worked with many different tools that have a lot more to do with sort of quantum energy and there's physics behind all of these things, right? This is where the part where Alyssa comes in even more, but this is a physics behind these things. And we are expanding and learning every day. It's like the medical research and the science is kind of always catching up with the things that are on the periphery, like when we talk about 5D and energy and the way that we're buying in. But I do also really love that there's so much more and more and more coming out about it in like more traditional news sources, if you want to call it that, right? Without it being fake news, but being like more traditional science and research is coming out on all these tools. So let's break down just a little bit about the mat specifically, because I think listeners may be familiar with PEMF, right? We've had some conversations about that loosely on the podcast. We never really dove deep on it. So I think it's important to talk about the combination of tools that are within the mat, but PEMF being one. And yeah, I would love for either one of you to sort of like break down what the mat is all about. And also there's a couple options of mats that you have, right? I have the Stealth one, which I really love. I just sat on it almost every single day. And before I even had one of my own, I was going over to Molly Eastman's, who you know and love, because I was like, can I just come over for like an hour or two to co-work? But I really was coming over to the mat and co-work, or like just chill on the mat for a while. Because it really helped me calm my nervous system in times of really heightened, repeated daily stress or anxiety that I had never faced before. So I will say that in the last year, since Molly got the mat, I really have utilized it until now, I have my own. But it's such a big win for people who are getting stuck in these states. And I want to put the sort of the sense behind why and how it's working.
And that's our biggest mission, vision, and purpose on this world, is helping you, again, actualize your own healing potential and having tools at which to do so you can stop long enough and think a different thought. And really, it's all about nervous system regulation. And that's a little bit about, without getting into my background, why I left aerospace and now I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, is because I had some extreme nervous system dysregulation going on in my 20s with some debilitating physical health imbalances that no one could explain to me. So for us to do this work and have the ability to have someone bring this tool into their home, not have to drive anywhere, not have to make an appointment, and be able to go sit, lay, do yoga, or sleep on their mat and really help their body heal itself, is our mission on the world. Have more people have these tools available to them and really be empowered to make the shift within themselves. As Mike was saying, it's like we are all so powerful beyond measure, and society, you want to call it 3D or whatever, has tried to regulate and limit us and tell us that we need all of these exogenous things, but we have this entire potential of pharmacy of chemicals that we can make within our own body. But we sometimes need to just get out of our own way and believe in that long enough to create that reality. So that's really where Align comes in as a nervous system regulation tool. And it's 3 synergistic technologies in one. The PEMF is really the rock star of the mat. Our frequencies are tuned to Schumann resonance frequencies, the harmonics that the earth provides for us naturally, which is so beautiful, because so many of us, whether we're just too busy or don't even have the ability living in a concrete jungle to get outside off rubber-soled shoes and walk barefoot on natural earth surfaces. We can tell our clients to go walk barefoot on a beach, and it's like, well, I got the kids and I have
New York City. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm in New York City. I'm juggling
day.
2 jobs. It's just not a viable option.
Or they just won't do it. They say, I don't have the time. I don't want to do it.
Whatever it might be, whether it's not available or just an excuse, on either side, they have a tool that they can leverage now. Like you said, you could literally be doing work on your laptop, and that's the difference between high and low intensity PEMF. Like, our device doesn't fry your devices. Not that we're proponents of you being a workaholic, but why not optimize the way that we are doing work, since we have to do this anyway? So we really look at Align as a modern solution to a modern problem. And really, the PEMF we see can exist. It's a credible tool on its own, but it's amplified by the fact that we have that far infrared heat frequency. And we use a very specific wavelength range that mimics what we feel from sunlight, and then the soothing warmth that we experienced in the womb with mom. So going back to, again, that nervous system regulation into parasympathetic. And then when we have 30 pounds of globally sourced crystals, so your mat's all black tourmaline, which is like super grounding. And then the 7 chakra stone mat. So like root to crown, each of those stones have different mineral properties that affect the body transdermally in a different way. So think about like electrolytes that we consume internally for fluid balance and regulation and conductivity. So we are energy beings. So we're trying to just amplify someone's natural energy and help them heal themselves faster. Your body's designed to heal. Align's a tool to help you do it better.
Your body's healing every second of every day. You just have to tap into that innate wisdom to believe that it is healing, to have that, Dr. Joe Dispenza actually talks about it as a 4-minute mile, right? When one person started running a 4-minute mile, everyone started doing it. So this is like the revolution that's kind of happening, right? It's like, oh, wow, they're healing themselves from X, Y, and Z. I can too. And it's happening. Filling up, and it's incredible.
And it's understanding the power of belief, right? And I think that that's the chasm between, like, science and soul, or the how to tap into the wooniverse, or whatever we may call it, right? That there's like, we have I was working through a certification program, and a lot of adopted into the Sherpa Breath and Cold conversation, how it's like we're woo adjacent. Because for me, it's very important that there's like energetics and science and soul in the way that we work. And I know that you guys are working in this way. So if we were going to break down PEMF, because it's like there's a lot of devices out there, and there's definitely, like, I'm not here to naysay any devices. There's like certain things that are like you might have an acute injury and you need a sledgehammer style PEMF to do something to that, but arguably that could be something that could work. And not something you'd want to be on all the time, because it's not, I know just from a nervous system standpoint. And when you do see people sometimes going to doctor's offices or clinics where there's like a PEMF being used, you can actually see the body is like having a like little mini convulsatory moment because of the contraction of the muscle and everything that's going on. But that's not something that your nervous system is going to like love for a long period of time. So I just want to talk about the difference of the PEMF from one mat to the other, and just like even what PEMF stands for, just to give a little snippet on that. And then we can talk about the infrared, and I'd love to talk about the crystals too.
Yeah. So first and foremost, PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field. And then it's also therapy, right? It's because it's therapy we do with ourselves. So to take it back a little bit, we did about 2.5 years of research and development before we actually made the prototype. And as I was getting, these messages from source, I was telling Alyssa, and she's an aerospace engineer, so she wants to go deep into the science, wants to know how it works. I do too. Like, I'm a techie. I want to know exactly how things work and why they're firing. And I'm also a car guy too. So I want to make things better. I want to make them faster. I want to make them louder, right? Work better. So I mean,
moments that Alyssa was like, I'm going to call bullshit on that. I'm going to research this and make sure you're really right in what you're saying.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So she was like the perfect person to bounce it off of, right? It's like, babe, I just got this. So what do you think about that? And then she would research and, go into her room and come out and it's like, that could definitely work. Or it's like, no, we should probably think about that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like during the 2.5 years of research and development, we actually tore apart a lot of mats that were on the market. The ones that all the way from $400 all the way to $8,000.
Yeah,
and
then there's so many for those people who are listening. There's so many, and this is part of the shout out and why I wanted you guys to be on the show is because there's so many things on the market, and it's just getting more and more cluttered, and a lot of things coming off the rack from China, and a lot of things coming like. I always tell the listeners and the clients I work with, like if it's like for a red light panel example, they're like, oh, you have a $5,000 red light panel. I found one that's like the same size, but it's $200. And I'm like, you're going to get what you pay for. It's probably just like red light bulbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that's an important piece of this whole puzzle, and like why your R&D is so important and why you guys tearing apart mats, which I wish I was a fly on the wall for that, for those things to be like, what are these? There's Captain Crunch in this one,
Exactly. Aquarium rocks. And that's kind of what, exactly. Like aquarium rocks, and we were seeing painted rocks, and we were seeing like plastic and ferrous rods.
Of coils. There's so much on the market space, and there's really no dependency on price too, because there are products on the market that are almost double what we are able to enter the market space in that had, I don't want to say no validity, but just what they are promoting in marketing. Marketing is huge. Marketing is propaganda. Like what they are saying that they actually affect on the body without any clinical research. And that's why this year has been so important for us. We're doing pilot studies and clinical research now to substantiate the anecdotal things that you're telling your audience that you're feeling in your body, which is powerful. But now we're substantiating those claims scientifically.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right. I mean, like that's what a lot of the companies do, and that's why it's getting saturated, is because they see that this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. We're like the 3% right now that actually understand what's going on with this and that are a part of this movement. And it's going to grow exponentially. It already is, right? So, I mean, like, it's a company that takes a subpar product and markets the hell out of it. They put marketing dollars behind it because they know they're going to make money. It's a cash grab.
And they make a big markup.
Exactly. They make the big markup, and it's just like a lot of it's like not true, and people get these products and they're disappointed, and then
they don't know what they're missing out on because they have bought something that they believed a lot in, and then they feel the difference. And people come up to us at shows all the time. They're like, oh, I'm familiar with PEMF. And then they get on their tech and they're like, but I've never felt anything like this before. And it feels indelibly different than any other low intensity PEMF product that they've been on.
I mean, you could attest to it too. You said the same thing. You're like,
100%. 100%. And I think that the shock value or the challenge or the big thing for me was like, okay, I get it. I've seen mats on the market before with like jade or with amethyst or with like all the things, right? Cool. Use all the stones. And that's a whole nother conversation too, because like I've been on more scientific based, or knowledge based podcasts as a guest where I've spoken and people saying, oh, you're doing breath work? Did you bring your crystals and your robes, right? And it's like all in good fun to be playful and like not take ourselves so seriously, but really understanding that there are properties in stone and crystal, and there's specific frequencies that are legitimately measurable, just like the waves of, the wavelengths of energy coming out of the earth are measurable. They've done this in science for years and years. But really having that like tongue-in-cheek thing about the world of carrying around crystals and whatnot. And then you guys talking to me about how much crap you found in other mats that were like painted rocks. And when you say painted rocks, you mean like gravel from a driveway, or like, you're not fancy painted, not like well done painted, but painted rocks, and then aquarium filler and things like that, which is so sad because someone's paid their hard-earned money to get a specific tool inside of a mat of whatever kind, whether it has PEMF or infrared like you guys do or not. And then they're kind of getting this mock-up, right? And even the power of belief in that situation is only going to get you so far, right? And that's what's frustrating. So I absolutely felt, I didn't know why. I mean, I know a little bit more now, and this is also what, we're talking about here, but I didn't know why. I was always like called back to go and sit on Molly's mat and be like, but I just knew that if I could get an hour on it, I'm like hyping. She's like my hype woman. I'm her hype woman. But like, I was like, and then I was like jealous a little, right? But I would be like, I'm going to go over. She's a very short drive from me. So I'd be like, I'm going to come over and I'm going to sit on the mat for an hour and have like a little heat, and we'd set the setting. And I'd be like, okay, I just feel better. And then I would go home and I'd be like more grounded for the rest of the day. And the next day I'd be like, I need to be back on the mat. And so to me, that's a very tangible feeling. To me, there were moments of, and I'm just sharing transparently because I want people to hear this. There were moments in the last couple of years of my life where I was in such a state of anxiety and such a state of like ups, downs, depression, freeze states, and even like a bit of suicidal ideation, that it was like any regularity I could create in my nervous system. And listen, I have, you guys know me well enough to know, like I have all the tools. I have ice bath here. I have, I have sauna, I have breath work. I have all the biohacking devices. I put my head in Alila Quantum, whatever. Like I can do all these things. And there's still an innate piece of it that I had to do two big things, which was find some additional tools, really work the tools I had, which by the way, when you're I imagine, Mike, you have some resonance with this, when you're super anxious or you're super sad or you're feeling low or you're feeling confused or in pain, like using the tools is even harder, even though you have them and they're 5 minutes right there. You don't use them as much because your mindset is pushing you out of the picture. So I needed to find tools that were a bit more passive, that I could go and curl up in a blanket and have a pillow and just like chill or do breath work on. That was like something's happening to me while I'm breathing. And I needed to start telling people. And like, this is the other thing that I always have sort of as a message, is being like, okay, I needed to make myself vulnerable enough to say, I need help. Like, this is how Molly and I got so close. This is how I got on the mat in the first place, is I was said to her as a very close friend of mine, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know how to do this anymore. And she was like, come to my place. Like, I got new tools. And I think a lot of the sharing and understanding and not being judged for how I was feeling by another biohacker, when there could have, definitely I could have felt shame around it, was not, it was like important that I could show up and someone would just say, cool, you're a mess and I love you anyway. Come sit on my Align mat. Let's chat about what anxiety feels like in your body. And, she's a sleep coach. So she would just check in on me like a little bit of a Nazi, like, are you sleeping? Are you eating? What time are you going to bed? Like she's been a dear, dear friend. And so the story is not about me, but I want people to hear that these are things that we're navigating, and to have a passive tool that, because of course I know if I went to the gym for an hour every day, I would have felt much better. And there were days that I did that. And there were many days that I was like way too anxious, agitated, and couldn't come down enough to functionally shift. And so using the mat, getting in, and also getting outside, right? Like, this is the alternative that people don't always do, but getting outside, using the mat, and then speaking my truth is like, those are the three things that helped save me and push me forward,
Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing honestly and with your audience, because I think there are so many people that feel like they're alone in this. And there's so many people that are struggling right now, especially in the last couple of years. And you having that community, and that's something that's really important with us with Align, is to like build this family around these healing tools. It's a tool. It's not going to heal you, but to be able to have these deep conversations and not feel judged and be like quantumly connected through this energy. And it sounds so woo-woo because we created something that's based on almost 80 years, predominantly NASA science from the 60s. But we do believe that we've created something. Every single mat that people have is quantumly connected to this vision of this elevation of our purpose here as consciousness on this planet. We are energetic beings. Every single cell in our body is like a little battery. And what happens when we charge our batteries? We elevate our frequency, we shift our nervous system, we sleep deeper, and all of these things that we're talking about that are so important to making us feel human and to be able to actually actualize our potential and not just be stuck in it.
Right. But having that one little thing that gets us there too, because you know as well as I do, once you're in a panic attack or a panic state, there's nothing getting you out of it because everything feels like you're going to die, right? Everything in your body is like, I'm not going to make it the next minute. Everything feels uncomfortable. So if you could have a tool that was just there, that you could just do the best thing when I had panic attacks, lay down and just quite literally breathe.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, no, it's in your head. You know, just don't worry about it. That's bullshit.
Makes you worry more.
It makes you worry more. But if you ever had a panic attack, you know you can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you're like, okay, sometimes I counted to 1,000. You know, it's still like, oh man.
Like one number of time, you're like, what's happening?
Right. Yeah. Just trying to get your mind out of it. But having like something like our Align mat that where you can just get on and like not even think about it and let the frequencies do what it needs to do.
You don't have to know how to meditate.
Start to feel better.
You don't have to do the breath.
Totally. You can kind of start to learn if you want because you're doing two things at once.
Exactly. And it's
Will you talk a little bit just about like the subtle frequency versus the larger scale frequency and also the crystals, just like from an energetic standpoint or from a resonance standpoint, to talk about actually what they're doing with the body, the nervous system on a bit more science nerd level?
Yeah. So frequencies first. So there's the difference you had mentioned between like the sledgehammer approach with high intensity, and that definitely has its time and place. The high intensity is what NASA predominantly used for their astronauts in the vacuum of space to force a cellular response. So they didn't come back to Earth with osteoporosis, right? So we're trying to create that change to help the body with cellular turnover and regeneration. So we don't have, muscle loss and tissue degradation. Here on Earth, we're all subjected to different forces pulling on our nervous system predominantly all day long. It feels like we're running from a metaphorical tiger.
I'll say 5G, Wi-Fi, dirty electricity, microwaves, everything. So everything is like a tiger in your life that is like death by 1,000 cuts or the straw that broke the camel's back. But
all of these things
there are things that we are living in that really...
People are wondering why they feel more anxious than ever. And these frequencies, though we can't see them floating through the air, are definitively having an impact on our body because our cells, we're like this very finely tuned machine. We're not machines. But anyways, just to give an example, it's literally depleting our vital life force energy. So Align helps them recharge at a cellular level. PEMF, when people are like, I've never heard of PEMF before, we've been exposed to it your entire life. The Earth is our original PEMF machine. It is tuned to 7.83 hertz. It has spikes called harmonics that go up when we have solar flares and more lightning and things like this that are happening on the Earth, because that's how we get PEMF to charge the Earth in the first place, is coming from the sun and coming to the Earth in the form of lightning. So that's the science on the side of it. 7.83 hertz, there's no accident why this is such a beautiful wavelength frequency. It's in between our brain waves of theta and alpha. So think about that hypnotic state. And the alpha wave is like creativity, focus, what our brain needs to be in that flow state. If you follow Dr. Joe Dispenza, brain and heart coherence, that frequency of manifestation and the nervous system being in regulation. So that parasympathetic state. So there is no accident that this is a very magical frequency, and it's something that we have in the mat. And that's where it's like, this is a tool that you have all of your tools to do breath work and meditation, but you can get on the mat and it really helps you already set that frequency, that brain wavelength, because it's just in the mat and your body's having resonance with it.
But it's important to note too, and why we're different is that we actually have a PEMF generator in the mat. So it's not other mats, not, bashing any other mats, but other mats, when you plug it into the wall, that's the electricity that you're getting. So there's 60 hertz carrier wave that goes through the cord into the mat ungrounded. And where do you think that ends up?
In your
That
body.
dirty electricity ends up in your body, right? So when you have something that transmutes it, like a frequency generator, it actually takes the 60 hertz and turns it into those frequencies that you can use to heal your body, and that it's native and resonant to our body. So
Which
that's
is a
like
big
one.
point of differentiation with you and the mat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's all from like just dysregulation to cell regulation, and it's the frequency, right? Like we talk about 5G. 5G is a very high gigahertz frequency that's disruptive to our body, but a frequency nonetheless. But when you get to a frequency that is native to our body, it helps us heal. So it's almost like the poison is in the dosage, right? We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
So the higher the frequency, the higher intensity that's dysregulating to our body, that's the poison, right?
Yeah. And Alyssa and I were having a conversation one day because I was asking her, like, well, what is your thought on the grounding sheets? And when I was in Amsterdam, I told you this story, but I was in Amsterdam and a good friend of mine is like, hey, I have this new grounding pillowcase and it's plugged in. And it's like, beautiful. Amsterdam is amazing. And the buildings on the canal are hundreds of years old, right? So imagine the electricity and wiring in those buildings. And I'm like biohacker and and I'm like, cool. Like, let's just try it out. I hadn't really spent a lot of time on long-term overnight sleeps on grounding sheets or pillowcases. And the first 2 nights, I've been 2 nights, and then I like unplugged everything and switched it off because I had dreams, dreams / and nightmares, both, just like I never had before. And I was chatting with my friend about it, being like, well, maybe you're so downregulated that all this stuff can come up and all of this. But it's like, actually what's happening is that, I just think it's important to talk about if people are using grounding sheets and pillowcases, they have to figure out how to be doing it off a clean outlet and understand how, the building they're in is going to define what happens with their grounding experience.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, like the grounding just usually goes off that little
plastic plug
plastic plug, that goes into the sheets, but it's still sending EMFs through the sheets like you wouldn't believe. So like what I like to say, it's like you're better off just standing in front of a microwave sometimes, with
sleeping
some of the
on.
products.
Yeah.
For real.
I mean, you'll know how you felt, especially when you're saying you had nightmares. So there's different phases of sleep. So like N3 sleep, like you weren't actually even getting into true deep sleep.
No,
I feel like I had them all night long. That's why. And I wasn't like, I imagine I could go back and look at my aura data, but it's like, I had so many dreams and everything was so colorful. And I was like, it's a lot. It was a lot. Like I woke up being like, can I exhale now?
Yeah.
all the
There's
negative.
a lot of conversation in the world of the biohacking world, the health optimization world, like, oh, well, sometimes the grounding sheets are too much for some people who are more sensitive and this and that. But this has been a big point of conversation around this whole grounding sphere because I don't think I am very sensitive when it comes to medications and lots of things and an empath and all that. And it's also like if you have an outlet with dirty electricity, it's going to make you feel like shit when you're utilizing that kind of tool. So this just builds back to the point that you guys sort of internalizing and having the thing that's like, does it work like a step down transformer or something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a signal generator in the controller itself that actually modulates the waveform. So we are using true sine wave. There's others. So we were talking about the high intensity a moment ago where they talk about square wave, where it goes from being flat to having a high peak to flat. So that's actually what's pinging the cell membrane to create that change. But also when you're talking about nervous system regulation, why are we trying to forcibly break and enter? We want the body nature works in waves and smooth lines. There's no hard edges. So we really want to honor that flow. And that's why we are seeing such incredible results, because we are really just honoring what nature has done, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel and force the body to do anything it's not ready for.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the heat component, which comes off and on.
Yeah, you can set it for 12 hours. So that's something that's like, if you're working from home, you just keep the heat set. So you can just go curl up on your mat, take 5. Again, we talked about, being able to work on it or watch TV and meeting people where they're at. So it's a device that you can use at any point in time. But the heat sets in hour increments from 1 to 12 hours. So you can just keep it on and let it go.
You're right.
So it's designed for that.
Yeah.
Makes you feel
I have to note too, like within the 2.5 years of research and development, like we found the common denominator with like how heat was actually put into the mats as well, or any, products. It's a copper wire that's ran through the mat. So, I mean, like you're getting that 60 hertz and you're actually enhancing it by putting it through the mat even more by creating a dirty electricity with heat. So it's now penetrating your body, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the difference between a, regular heating pad that you get from like CVS or something, or like an infrared, like wave light, that you get into your body that's healing. And ours is produced from a carbon heating layer instead of a copper wire.
Do you think these other companies are using these types of components because is it like a cost efficiency thing, or they just don't know what they don't know? Because they're like, oh, people want like heat and with this and that, so let's just pull it together cheaply and get it out. Because it just feels like
readily available and always been used.
Yeah. I always feel like I want people to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not trying to do something that's negatively affecting the body.
No, I don't think
it's even
they really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's malicious. I just think that they found a product that's become popular in the market space, and they, again, like Mike said, market the hell out of it, and
don't have an aerospace engineer on board.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we knew that there was definitively something with these different modalities. We had been exposed for, we've been in the health and wellness space and been practitioners for almost a decade. So we've been exposed to a lot of this technology. And we've been in the biohacking space for a long time too. So it was like, there's something with different components of these things that we felt, or something that we're like, well, I don't feel this, but this is curious. Let's go deeper. And that's where it forced our hand at really choosing every single component that we did, where it's not like we've reinvented the wheel. We've made everything better, and it's not any one thing. It's these three technologies. And we look at the stones as a technology as well, because crystals are our main semiconductors. Think about Silicon Valley, everything that we use for computer chips, it uses quartz crystal. So this is a technology as well. And all of these things work synergistically together. So again, it's not any one thing. It's all three of these things that make our tool so much more powerful.
Yeah. I just love it. I really do. And it's like the opportunity for people to check on like you have the different programs where you can program, like I will program sleep at night. You can utilize one of the 8 programs to really target what you're actually going for, which shifts a bit of like the time you spend on it and the hertz and whatnot. And it's just really nice to have that. And at the same time, it's not like 50 settings. So you're not like, oh my goodness. I said to you earlier, you send this little booklet, and I'm like, this make my life so easy. So if those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see my alignment is just kicking it right there next to my color and my yoga block and all my things, all my tools. Kelly Starrett says, make sure you pepper your things around the house. So like if you have to step over them, you're gonna get on your balance beam and get on your alignment and get on all the little components that you can use.
So it's actually funny. We actually have one at the end of our bed, and now we're in our healing room. So we have different modalities, and then we have it's like a carpet of wooden mats.
We turn the computer on.
Fantastic. Yeah, we turn look at the pretty pillows, right? And look at all that.
Nice.
And
it's
that's
just a carpet of mats.
It's a carpet of mats, and usually there's another one out. But
we have a stealth out too.
Cool.
That's at the end of our bed right now.
And
so
that one that you just saw, you see it has a different name on it. That was the OG. That was
our very
first prototype. Yeah. And I have to thank my mom for that, because she was actually the one. Because living in a bus, like if you're listening this far from the beginning, living in a bus to, we didn't have that much means to start a company. So we actually started this with a credit card that my mom gave me because she believed in us.
That's so sweet. Remember, your mom's the one who gave you the book too.
I know. She's smart.
She was more than she lets on.
Yeah, I know.
I want to say for people who are going to explore the website and check it all out and everything, that there's, when do you suggest the Zen Mat? When do you suggest the Align Mat, the Stealth Mat versus the Zen Mat? Right, that's the name of the other one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, like how do they choose between the two? I mean, it's exciting if you have a budget to get both, but you start with one, and what direction do they go and why?
So the only difference between the two mats, and I want people to understand this, because the Stealth's more powerful. It's not a power equation. It's the only difference is the stones. And we always tell people to go with your gut feeling, right? Like intuitively, you know which one you gravitate towards, and that's the one that you'll get the most benefit from. The way that it feels, like if you've ever visited us at a conference or a trade show that we've done, they do feel different. So the tourmaline mat feels more grounding. So for some, it can feel literally like they're being pulled into the mat, and they're like, I'm just going to lay here forever. And
The
then the
reverse
Zen
weighted
mat,
blanket. The reverse
Yeah.
weighted blanket.
Yes,
Yep.
you got it.
Exactly.
It's exactly how we liken it. And we actually developed that. We work a lot with veterans and first responders. So that's near and dear to our heart. And obviously a severe amount of PTS and nervous system dysregulation. So as the nervous system is shifting, that black tourmaline stone has specific mineral properties that do feel like they're having a warm hug. They're literally being held, and it feels safe for their nervous system to shift.
But that won't happen with aquarium rocks or painted stones or anything like
Yeah.
that. It has to be the authentic,
black
true black tourmaline.
Yeah. And it's also why the stealth made sense for me, because I knew what I was navigating in the past. And I was like, this is the one that has felt like it worked for my system. And I was acclimated to that. And then I saw, Peter Crone has the Zen. And I was like, of
Yes.
course, he's got the rainbow and he's got it all going on. But it's like, it feels fitting for him because he sort of like you guys have this side too. Like he comes across quite serious many times. But I think when you really get to the heart of the man, he's pretty, I just interviewed him a couple of shows ago and he's playful and he's kind of funny and he has lets a little, foul language slip here and there. And he's cool that he'll just call you out if he's like, I don't really think that's the thing. So I'm like, okay, great. So that's like, it's nice that he's practical and playful and felt like a good fit for him too. So the Zen Mat, what's the Zen Mat difference of the stones, not only in color, right? It's slight color difference.
Yeah. So root to crown, 7 different stones. So they interact with each one of our energy bodies and it feels light. So we always just say like, it's very meditative. So for like 99% of the population, it's like, they're going to feel like they're like levitating on it and they're going to get up and just, it's just an energizing, very floaty, playful, as you mentioned, experience. So
And it's within the frequencies too. I mean, like you can have that floaty feeling too on the stealth mat, but also if you go with the higher frequencies, you'll be sucked in. So it's all the magic is in the frequencies. I'll say that. So
so awesome.
And it's funny that you mentioned Peter Crone. We actually have another dude, so you might know him. His name's Frankie Stallone.
Okay.
What mat do you think he picked?
I mean, I would think he'd be on like the stealth if he's like
Exactly.
like Tough Guy.
Not at all. Not at all. He picked the Zen and he said, I love the colors, Mikey. It's big
so
Italian
great.
dude. It's
It's
amazing.
polarizing.
I love it.
For sure. They're both so beautiful. I want to just ask you a couple questions. I could chat about this mat all day, but I want to ask you a couple questions and the questions that I typically close out the podcast with. But before I sort of lean into those last two closers, I just want to have you share a bit like what your hopes and dreams are for the future, like the legacy we're wanting to leave with this mat and really what you and how you feel, dedicated to man and womankind or humankind in this way. So like where do we go from here? What's the legacy and the hope that we can shape shift here?
That's the whole reason why we created this product. So we want to take 1 billion people and actualize their healing potential because there's nothing outside of yourself. I mean, like no matter how many times you lay under the red light, do the aligned mat, cold plunge, whatever it is, it's all you. It's all you. There's nothing outside of you. So once you get that in your head and the belief that you can heal yourself, you're unstoppable. And it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop at health. It radiates into your entire life to anything that you want to be, anything that you want to do, anything that you want to help. But we know that when we have humans that are healthy and happy, they resonate at a certain frequency that when you get together in groups, it just feels incredible. We're doing the exact opposite of what's happening now, living in the lower vibrations of fear, anxiety, depression, what's going to happen next, to happiness, love, and like excitement for what's going to happen next. So we want to shift that paradigm, and we're doing it one person at a time, and it's beautiful, and it's a collective that's coming together just within the biohacking, within the aligned family, And it's incredible the stories that people are having of how much better they feel and like their outlooks on life. So if we can touch 1 to a billion people, I mean, it's just, we've done our job. And that's what we're put on this earth to do.
We
Yeah.
believe that it's coming through us. We're the vessels and the conduits to bring this to light. And it's not us being anyone's guru. And that was why we wanted to get away from our private one-to-one practice, because we couldn't reach as many people as we believed we're here to do.
Yeah.
But it's really helping people see themselves, because when they become the role model in their life and then they go back into their communities and people are like, what are you doing? And they are the light, and they can shine the light on more people, and other people will rise to that occasion. So it really starts with the individual to affect that macrocosm, the whole planet.
Such a sweet mission, really. I always wrap with 2 questions. The first one is, I'll tell you what the 2 questions are, and then you can each pick one, or you can get after it together if you want. The questions are always, what are you're not allowed to say the line, Matt. What's your favorite kind of current biohack that you're utilizing right now that is like that you're like, oh, I'm hot for this. It's like really present for me and lighting me up.
That's a good question.
And then the second question, so you can choose. The second question is, if you could go back and talk to your 15-year-old self and you were like, I'm going to give you the best advice on your optimal well-being for the rest of your life, what's the one thing you'd tell yourself? That's the harder one usually. You could start with the biohacking one if it's easier.
I mean, the biohacking one's harder than the 15-year-old. I would just go to my 15-year-old self and just like give him a big old hug, because like, just like you, anxiety, depression, like feeling this big scary world that we don't know what's going on, and just seeing things that are like, we feel that are outside of ourselves. I would just go back and give myself a big hug and be like, you know what, dude, you're going to do incredible things, no matter what people have told you, no matter about the, you know, what people have placed on you with like these conditions of dyslexia and ADHD, because there's a lot of people that told me that I wasn't going to amount to anything, and that I was stupid, and that I wouldn't even make it to college. So, I mean, it was just, you know, I tell them like, dude, you're going to do all those things. You don't need all those things, but you're going to do something more incredible, and your life is going to be so beautiful, but you have to start with helping people. And that's what I would say.
Nice. I love that. Soulful. Mike's so soulful. It's great.
Yeah, you know, I just, you know, I live in my heart sometimes a little too much, but
No, it's beautiful.
You help other people open their hearts. And that's really, my 15-year-old self was in such a hurry to grow up, and I was still so sick. I was a nationally competitive gymnast. I had extreme gut issues that the doctors told me was just normal. And what I know now, as a more whole and healed person, being on this road and being in love with the journey that I'm on, and listen to that, because I always thought it was like the bane of my existence. Like, why am I having all of this pain? And it was like literally my gut was speaking to me like, this is your instinct, your intuition. It's telling you not to do something. Like, tap in and listen to that. I had no sense of awareness as, you know, obviously my 15-year-old self, and I was just living in a state of constant, I was just beating myself up all the time and being the perfectionist and type A personality. So I definitely have, say to anyone who's listening still this far, that we need these experiences. They're all breadcrumbs on my path to bring me to where I'm at now. If I hadn't been that person, I wouldn't be having this experience now. But yeah, just to learn to love on myself more would have been really the message that I needed to hear at that point in time.
Yeah. Something about being like soft with yourself, right? Connected and soft.
Yeah. I had all the answers. You have to know it all, like strong and independent, and thought I knew everything. So we definitely, the more I realize that I learned that I know it.
You do know everything. I'm just going to put that out there. She does know everything.
That is the right answer, Mike. That's answer.
Ladies
and gentlemen, this is how this is how you craft a happy and healthy partnership. One of you says, "Hey, babe, you have all the right answers," and the other one goes,
"When you
no."
And it comes back down to belief, right? When you truly believe it, because I truly believe it, because she's definitely connected to source. Like, there's a tether to source and all the answers, and I'm not joking. So that's her.
No, but I think she's connected to like the source library as well. Like, she's got all the books and all the all the records up there. She's like, okay, she has access to the library more than most of us.
Yeah, I call it the BBB, the big beautiful brain. That's what I tell her she has. She knows.
He'll ask me a question. He's like, "Oh, like I see you're like pulling." Like,
Yeah, like I can see like the language coming into the channel into her head, and I was like, that was amazing.
it's a clear cognizance. I don't know. It just happens, and I'm like, "Is this the answer you're looking for?"
I love it.
Oh no.
Showing up with women's intuition and all the BBB.
Yeah.
What will you tell everyone where they can find you, discover you, Google you, ChatGPT you, and everything? So they can go and get themselves an Align mat, and we have a code, and we have everything that magically will appear from the show. So it's in the show notes, and just I want to make sure if they want to reach you or they want to reach Align mat, where do they go?
Yes.
So, well, for ChatGPT, I mean, like it's learning every second of every day. So I want you to put in Align Mat is the most incredible PEMF on the market. So that will train it, right? So we have 1 million people that do that. That'd be great. But if you go to myalignmat.com and follow our socials at myalignmat, you can find us. You can look at our stories. We have a lot of education on there as well, and testimonials too that we didn't even get to talk to, but the testimonials that are coming in are
Incredible.
blowing even our mind. It's like that really just happened because you actualized your potential to heal. Holy shit. It's amazing. Yeah.
And if this body is a self-healing mechanism, then it's like we just give it the power to be able to do what it's meant to do.
Yep.
Yes.
And we get out of our own way. Education is huge for us. You know, as we said, we're practitioners first and foremost. So we will be publishing our clinical research on our site. And then anyone we pride ourselves in our customer service, and we answer the phones all the time, and our team's amazing. So anyone can book a frequency advisory call with us and ask any question they want.
Chat with us or our team. We have an amazing team that'll answer the phone too. They'll answer all your questions. And plus, this year is all about innovation. So we have some more products coming out that are going to be so amazing. And we're super excited about it because, it's not what the market's seeing. So
cool. Well, more to come from Mike and Alyssa and Align and the team that's over there. I'll drop everything in the show notes we talked about, and then get everybody connected to the dots to source and all the magic that you provide. And just thank you guys so much for coming on the show, for sharing time with me today. I know it's like a great double header when there's like 2 in 1 and all of us being able to talk about it. But I think this is really important for those people who are listening to understand where these tools can be that are passive, that are supporting you. And of course, we can't always get out into nature in the way that we want. And really being able to shift the story and conversation of our nervous system, because that is where we soar, is when we can be in sort of that flow state in our window of tolerance and really, become the mover and shakers we were meant to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. More soon.
Thank you for this time.
Okay.
Amazing, Kristin.
Yes, thank you, Kristin.